Last week we started on this topic of those living by faith and how they get noticed. Some people just stand out as Christians. I don't mean religious. There are people who stand out as religious. Have you met these people?
Oh, yeah.
You got, the 3-foot wooden cross that they wear on a necklace. Or if they're really spiritual, it's the gold overlaid gold cross, because at gold prices nobody can afford a real gold cross that size anymore. So it's some kind of metal and then overlaid in gold, super shiny. And if they're really religious, they'll carry little pin lights with them so that they can focus the light on the cross to shine it onto you. These are the ones that in the workplace, when it's time to eat lunch, don't just bow their head and say, "Father, thank you for this." But they stand and they say, "Almighty God in heaven, look down upon me here in this workplace, before all these rotten sinners who are not praying, and bless by me." Have you seen these type of people?
Yeah.
You just pray they don't call themselves Christians, because it's bad enough everybody assumes they are. But people who really live by faith get noticed. People who just love Jesus get noticed. If you love Jesus, not just on Sunday, but Monday through Saturday, people are going to notice. Because it just sort of oozes out of you. You ever been around newlyweds? Don't if you're diabetic, because you'll go into shock because of the sweetness. They walk down the street, not just holding hands like sane couples, but somehow so interlocked, you know that the blood is moving from one to the other. They have shared veins in the hand. Instead of saying things like, "Well, what would you like for dinner?" like normal married people, these people are so in love. "Oh, sweetie, what do you want for dinner?" "I don't know, honey." And everybody behind them in line at the takeout would just pick something, Karen, you're hungry back here. What they are expressing has nothing to do with anybody around them, but it attacks everybody around them. If you are not in a good relationship, you notice them very quickly. If you are in a good relationship, you notice them quickly. Because they don't notice you. They only notice each other. Do you remember those days? Some of you may still be in those days. I think Laurel and Mitzi are still in those days. There's this picture on the church website of him pushing her in the swing set at the church camping trip. Just one of my favorite pictures of all time. Here's a man and woman in love after all these years. It oozes out of him. He opens the door for her. It's amazing. It's the same way with Jesus. You don't have to go tell everybody about him, because they know you have some kind of a connection with him. So last week we dealt with the first 12 verses, most of them very quickly, because Pastor Stephen distracted me and I had to just race through verses 4 to 11. So today we're going to try to make it through a little bit more. We want to start in this section here that's verses 13 through 22. Section that we don't like to talk about in America anymore. America is the land of the blessed, are we not?
Yeah.
I mean, we are blessed people. Any of you who read the missionary reports, any of you who have any access to what's taking place around the world with followers of Christ, know that Americans are blessed. Do you know that for the past 2 years, over 120,000 Christians have been murdered for their faith the last 2 years? That's not combined, that's separately. Over 120,000 people. My mind doesn't even comprehend that many people losing their life. Last year we had in the Middle East a missionary father and mother drug out of their home by another religious group. forced to watch their children executed before their own eyes, and said, do you disclaim Jesus now? No, we don't. So they took the wife and they raped her in front of the father, and then they killed her. Not because they had done anything wrong, not because they were thieves and liars, not because they had stolen money from the city, but because they had cared enough to talk about Jesus. They looked at the man and they said, do you now disclaim Jesus? With tears rolling down his face and who knows what horrible emotions racing through his body, he says, no, Jesus is all I have left. And with one move of a trigger finger, he met his family in heaven.
Thank you, Lord.
So we have it really easy in America. And I'm not complaining. But when things go really well, it's sometimes easy to get really self-centered. And I am a Christian in America, so I can say this not about them, but about us, myself included. We get really selfish as Christians, don't we? You want me to get up at what time on a Sunday and go to church? You mean pray every day? Do you know Oprah's on? You want me to be kind to people? Did you see him cut me off as I drove in my car? All over the world on this great Sunday, men and women are walking miles to go meet under trees in tiny little thatched houses, who are hiding in places and meeting in small little groups because they can't be seen in groups larger than 10 or 12, all to secretly hide and discuss this name Jesus. And we are complaining because God has allowed us to have a car that somebody cut us off in on our way to worship Him. Now, I'm trying to be mean to us there. We're selfish people because we've been spoiled by God's grace. But all around the world, men and women are dying for their faith. In America, we're teaching people that if they pray the right prayer, God will give them more money. In churches all around today, we're learning that success in the kingdom of God is determined by how nice the clothes you wear. You know what I'm talking about? The word suffering is incomprehensible for us. We get nervous when somebody in our social circle finds out we go to church because they might laugh at us. We don't want to be the only one at work that doesn't participate in the off-colored jokes because, after all, we don't want to have to eat lunch alone, talk on our cell phone, use our BlackBerry, go on the internet, sit in the air conditioning and the heating alone. That's suffering. 2 years ago in America, a young man who was part of a religious group became a follower of Jesus Christ in America. On the East Coast, in a major city. Started becoming the Bible group, started to pray. Father met him outside their home, beat him to within an inch of his life, and told him he was never allowed back in that home again until he renounced Christ. Here's a man who lost physically because he was beaten, lost the love and respect of his home, and then lost his home. All because he found a guy named Jesus who changed his life. This kid didn't steal anything from mom and dad. This kid didn't disrespect them. He didn't cuss at them. He didn't try to hurt them. All he did was find Jesus. And in America, he was beaten by his father while his siblings watched in approval and was told never to come back again. Living in the church for a time until other arrangements could be made